And it seems as though that the smiley face will continue to stay upright, or should I say a little bit horizontal. Welcome back to the desk, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ravish Gravis, joined here yet again by Veteran and my main man, Part. Amigos, things are still looking up for both of these teams, but there just seems to be one thing that neither team is keen on, which is deciding who wants to win half the game, because they do the flip-flop. Veteran, let's talk about this draft to start things off.
Okay, so I didn't want to see them allow the Darius pick through, especially not the Darius-Senna combo. However, what we ended up seeing was that just by denying the Talia pick, and by opting in for the Ornn pick themselves, and by Fear not opting into the Ornn pick, Fear were not able to make up for being last on these objectives like they were before. We talked about the Senna, about the Ornn, and about the Talia being able to make up for Fear being off on those timings relative to TBA. They didn't have any of those tools this time. Purely the Senna, maybe arguably the Tarn, but they as a whole, if they just weren't there on time, TBA just had the better position each time. They also have a lot more engage on this composition than they did before because of the presence of the Ornn, but ultimately I think the lack of these things that made up for Fear's worst timings on these objectives versus TBA ended up meaning TBA could play their game out the way that they wanted to, despite giving over the Darius Senna to Fear.
And there's one specific factor I found that really did allow things to be changed over. Although Darius and Senna were definitely a big factor, but there is the Ornn factor part, which I think has terrorized both of these games, truly impacting it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously the matchup may not be the greatest, but I think you can see that it wasn't like one team having the Ornn. It's just the Azir side not really having it. That really changed the dynamics, because before they were able to play the sides and use their globals to impact the side lanes, but even when they did group with objectives, it was super easy for Fear to start team fights with Ornn. But now they have a comp with Darius, Kindred, Azir, and Senna, and TK, and they have no options but to walk into TBA, who are usually setting up first for these objectives. And TBA both have the advantage in terms of being able to secure objectives with Kalista, and they can also turn with all the engage from Wukong, Kalista ult, and the Ornn to back it up. And so I do think that for Fear, in terms of pivoting into the next game, they do have to decide like what kind of playstyle do they want to go for, and taking some of these tools away from TBA, that's kind of made them a lot more successful. Initially, I was also pretty apprehensive to see the same start with Senna on blue side and Kalista on red side kind of going into it. But I think Robbie was able to like round out the comp really well by picking the Xerath into Azir, which I actually felt like had a pretty decent impact.
And that was actually a big thing as well, too, because you found that it was in the early game as well. You know, Fear actually did quite well yet again. They were playing that because this is a scrappy style, right? Trying to catch out. A lot of kids was early pathing and making sure that, you know, they weren't allowed to scale. But as things get scrappy, I find this truly is where TBA's comfort zone becomes. And Veteran, one of the main replays I want to look at, right? It's a simple team fight, but you see it's so far along in the game that both Fear and TBA both have chances of winning this.
Well, a big thing is that this actually begins with a big Fear victory, right? They actually forced early on in lane during this, but then they end up overextending trying to get that tier 2, and TBA recognize that they are off that timing, and they are able to collapse on them on side. Now, this definitely would be something Fear should be worried about coming into the future, because this is normally the time that they are most comfortable, but this time TBA realized, okay, they got an advantage here, but they're playing way too far with it. They're playing without their Darius. We can definitely pick them off. And ultimately this turns into a flank, which ends up turning into Baron control and priority for TBA. It's a very unique replay from TBA because this isn't normally where they get their advantages, but now they're countering Fear, where Fear is normally at their most comfortable. Maybe TBA can really do everything.
And this is where I want to see more of the adaptation from both these teams, because Fear's continued to show that they know what TBA want to do, and they managed to counter it with certain very solid picks, mainly just a Talia as well. But now TBA, as they have adapted themselves to the overall lane playstyle against Fear in the second game, managed to stay within it. They only have one more game to continue forward. And as you continue to look at the next replay here, Parth, although it was a final team fight, I find this is truly where TBA had caught up to Fear's pacing. Because as you see, Massa decides that he wants to win the game finally.
Yeah, so you see kind of Fear coming out, but they're kind of split up. They're together, but they're kind of chasing into TBA, but they have no options. They have no engage. TBA just have to back up, wait for the right spot, wait for the Ornal to come in, and then follow up after. It just became at this point a game that was super easy for TBA to kind of play out.
Yeah, and play it out they did, because looking from there, the Calista decides that she's strong enough and puts out enough damage that they're doing okay. Even Robbie as well, earlier on, managed to get a pretty solid pick, and then as you force out Kindred after Kindred, Fear are now stuck inside of a corner. But Veteran, are they truly stuck inside a wall? Do they have no way out but in?
I think it's time to unlock Sketch. I think it's time to break the glass, get Sketch out, and put him on some heavy all-in champion Tristana, Twitch, maybe move away from this center pick entirely, move away from the Dragoon angle entirely. You guys are too off on the timings to be able to just walk into them, right? And they are never going to have to walk into you. Maybe it's time to accept that and just play where their real strength is, which is getting these solid picks, and even in that point where they overextend, maybe even still finding a good opportunity for Sketch to carry the rest of the fight. He's not going to be able to do it on center. He's a very good center player, but he's not going to be that same guy that was threatening to solo carry games on it versus these other champions. I think let's get Sketch back on there if Cincinnati Fear actually want to take the next game. But personally, I think TBA aren't going to succumb to Fear anytime soon.
Not right now. It seems as though they still got Cleanse on their side, but will the Summoner spell run out? It's a real question. Will TBA make it, or will Fear truly continue to strike into the hearts of many and go and face 100 Thieves tomorrow? We'll have to see, and only two people can let you know, that being Jolly and Beats on Boulevard. Let's get it.
That's us. He was talking about us. He mentioned us.
He said our names.
I know. He said our names. The most ravishing man on the internet. Thank you guys for.
He knows us.
He really does. But honestly, the Dust insight and breakdown of these games has really been exceptional. I feel like when we come back after listening to the Dust talk about the previous game, we're just kind of repeating what they're saying, right? Because they do such a good, concise job of talking about.
Smart.
Right? I know. There's a reason they're on there. Okay, there's a reason they're talking about these games when it really matters, when it comes to breaking down a lot of these fights. And that is what I saw. I think another thing that, I have to add to it, of course, I had to step away for like a second to get some water, but something that I certainly would like to add is just the fact that while Dragoon was pushing the lane, was doing incredibly well in CS, did well in the laning phase, every time in the early part of the game, he tried to do what Dragoon does best on Darius, which is invade the other lanes. It happened 2 to 3 times, really in the first 15-20 minutes. He didn't find a successful gank in any of that. And that is a really easy way to kind of shut that Darius down, is prevent him from getting these early kills, prevent him from getting these extra early items and things like that makes him oppressive. And then he gets caught out in the enemy jungle multiple times just by being a little bit too far forward, and it happened not just to Dragoon but also to Trickster, and those are the two pivotal players in game number 1. So maybe for them to kind of reevaluate positioning, don't get overly confident, is something that Cincinnati Fear has to do moving forward. Team pending, it's something that they can take advantage of.
And I think that's why I agree with the notion that they should probably pull away from focusing so much on Dragoon in the top lane. Play front to back, play for Sketch. I agree with Veteran. Sketch, we've always known him to be that kind of player, and even on this roster, we've seen examples in the past of him being able to be that carry player. Even in situations where it isn't actually ideal for them, he is someone who can really step it up. And I said it going into this matchup, in all of Fear's wins, when they win matches, it is usually through playing for Sketch, not necessarily the Senna. It's more of the hyper carries and Jinx, things like Tristana, all things Sketch has constantly performed on. And I agree. I want to see the shift over to that style of play, especially because Fear, they are on the blue side. They are going to be able to secure something strong like that one, nice and easy, if they actually go this route.
Yeah, and it was even Vet who mentioned the same thing that we were kind of, the sentiment that we were talking about of, this is looking to be the same, right? The Callista lock-in right after
was
the Senna
nervous.
lock-in. Yeah, for real, I was. And then the Xerath gets locked in final, and you're like, oh, okay, hold on. This is a Robbie Bob game. And if you can swing a Robbie Bob game, that is something that you have to feel good about, especially being able to get a counter pick at the very end of pick ban phase once again. So we are seeing Fear have chosen the blue side, being the underdog in this TBA. I'm sure they're happy about that, though, because even after losing game number 1, they still decided to go with the counter pick ability here on red.
And I think, interestingly enough, although we're hoping, really, to see the shift for Fear so that they have a better chance of closing things out in game 3. I have a feeling Orin's going to kind of be that priority pick, because if you're playing away from top side and you want to play for the mid to bottom side of the map, Orin is the best champ right now at being that weak side on the other side of the map because of how well the CC works out in these team fights, the masterwork items. There's just so many reasons for it here. And I mean, it's 2-0 in the series right now, despite both these teams playing at once.
It's true. That is true. Orin has come out 100% ahead. I do also think something to note as well. Game number 1 was on the Tahm Kench, was able to roam so much in the early parts of the game. Game 1, Sketch was down in the bottom lane fighting off against these two members from TBA for several minutes at a time. And that roamability was definitely there. Game 1. Game number 2, with how much pressure Team Pending had put on the bottom side, it meant that Plux couldn't do that roaming. It meant that they didn't get the pressure that they wanted in the mid lane, maybe from the roams there. And it also meant that TBA was able to just continuously farm these dragons and force Fear to say, hey, we now need to stop you from getting this soul because it's too darn good for you guys. So again, focus towards the bottom side, which is not necessarily normal in this meta, and also with a lot of these teams, because we see a lot of the hyper-focused carries in the top and the jungle. I think we just kind of go back to basics, right? Slow the game down a little bit, but do what you can towards bottom.
It's looking like same bans from game 2. I'm sure that's going to be banning away Tricksters to Leo more after what an insane performance he had in game 1. And this time around, TBA have already shown it. They can leave the Darius up. They have the answer for Dragoon's best champion. So they're completely fine just letting that one go. And we're already, I think, going to find out early if Fear are going to stick with the same kind of idea of a composition. And it's actually the Wukong, something they haven't been interested in all series long. And it does mean that they have abandoned the Senna first pick.
They have. No more Senna first pick. I think, you know, what you had to say, though, just a moment ago definitely attributes to that, right? If you're going to be playing towards Sketch, you want to see him on a little bit more of a carry, and that means that Team Pending is going to lock that Senna in for themselves. Might as well take advantage of it before she gets nerfed down, because she is incredibly strong, and now we see the hover on the Tahm Kench as well. Get a little bit more of that momentum, that versatility, and the ability to save some of your members if they go in too deep.
Yeah, so Masu played a fair bit of Senna. Sketch is good, but so is he, and that does mean that you do have that safe bot lane. We've already said so much about Senna Tahm Kench and how it is good at absorbing pressure with little jungle attention. So it does mean that you are still looking for other scaling picks on other parts of the map here. I mean, we could see, because I'm pretty confident Fear are going to continue to focus removing champions away from Robbie Bob like they have been constantly. So what else are they going to put in the mid lane if something like the Xerath ends up still being available? And there it is. We highlighted it. A carry for Sketch. Like Veteran said, break open the glass. It's an emergency, and you're giving Sketch one of his best champs.
Yeah, not only that, hey, that 2-0,
oh my God.
That 2-0 in Ornn is going to go over to Fear. When you have something like the Cyclone, when you can mix it with something like Call of the Forge God, and then let's throw a Super Mega Death Rocket on top of that,
so much,
gives you so much opportunity to engage on fights that otherwise would not be accessible here. But, haha! This is another thing we like to see. Again, the potential for the Robbie Bob carry. And this is absolutely a Robbie Bob carry pick.
It is, and this is what I was kind of expecting in game 2, where it gets constantly banned in that second rotation, so they're going to grab it right away. They need a scaling pick in the mid lane, something that's going to be able to outrange the Jinx. So they immediately shift that priority over to the Corki in the mid lane. Not going to have a lot of lane pressure early on, but realistically, that is okay. As long as you ban away the Yone, I don't think there's anything Blaze that's going to... I don't think there's anything Blaze will pick that's going to particularly punish Robbie Bob in the mid lane. So I do like the pivot from TBA.
And I also, you know what? I also like that Lulu ban. When we're talking about Flux,
Yeah.
Flux's Lulu is nuts. And if you can give somebody like a Jinx that whimsy, that extra speed, as well as shielding, which is really busted right now. I can talk about shielding all day long. There are still some other opportunities, right? But that is definitely one that hurts for Fear not to be able to pick up. And it's the Soraka, actually, so not the Yone. And that shows a lot of confidence in Robbie Bob's pick.
Plus, I like that you got to remove the strong enchanter picks, because at this point, between top and jungle, you have so much CC, so much all-in, and everything to work with here. So it makes a lot of sense that they'd lean towards the enchanter picks if something like Lulu and Soraka was available. Good bans. And at this point, it's the Gangplank. Because mid is taken up, now they can remove some picks away from Topo. No Gangplank, no Poppy, which is something that he's played in previous series in the last few weeks. Oh, it's the Sejuani.
It's the Sejuani. Oh man! All right, you know what? With Sejuani, it depends on the day for me. But when it comes to Kitsuo on Sejuani, this is a pretty painting.
That could be Topo. That could be Sej top.
That could be Topo. It definitely could. And you know what? It fits his playstyle very well.
Yeah, so that could be, it's still unsure, and we are seeing the Cassiopeia, so another late game scaling pick for Blaze, another champ that I haven't seen from him so far, but you have no shortage of scaling here, and honestly, the Renata, I think, ends up being a really good pairing if they lock that in with the Jinx. Again, Enchanter pick, perfectly fine. You have so much CC as it is, and it ends up allowing you to have a pretty strong lane, just because, honestly, Jinx's laning phase is fine. And when you pair it with when you pair almost any AD carry with Renata, it instantly becomes a good lane.
Yep, it's true. Especially looking at, a little bit of early pressure, but really sustaining into the late game. And you're right there. Topo is going to be running that Sejuani, the Lee Sin in the jungle before Kitsuo. And I'm actually happier with that pick when it comes to Kitsuo, too. Kitsuo has a very, very flexible play style. I mean, Kitsuo was one of those players that can really pull out pretty much anything. And you assume he has his own variation of how things work. He certainly does, but at the end of the day, man, he's just good at the basics of a kit. And Lee Sin is going to provide a lot of the initiation that the rest of the team can follow up here. They've got plenty of range. They've got plenty of follow-up. And now that they have something like that Sonic Wave to follow through on, it's up to TBA to snowball this one in their favor. If they can shut down Fear in the early parts of this game, too, that means that they're going to basically have to hold off. Fear is in a position where if they don't get themselves rolling early on, they just have to kind of reserve themselves, die as little as possible until that scaling can kick in.
And there, that Lee Sin pick is especially interesting to me because Kitsuo in this game 3, he is playing the Lee Sin, one of his most signature champions, is something he has had some insane performances on. And what this tells me with this comp too is that you are playing to scale, you are playing for late, but you have a lot of tools where, just like Fear's comp is, it's the sketch show. This is what we keep talking about with this guy. And now that he's on the Jinx, now that he has all these tools to succeed, this is Fear's best chance at winning the game. But on the other hand, you have Sejuani, you have Lee Sin, you're looking for sketch. You're hunting in the woods, cutting away grass. As soon as you see that Jinx, you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at her so that she can't actually do what she wants to do. Things like getting those insect kicks off, the glacial prison, whatever you can do to make sure sketch cannot win Fear this game.
Yep. It's a sketch angle for Fear. It's a Robbie Bob angle for Team Pending, that's for sure. And I'm very happy and comfortable with both of those decisions. We do have a very quick pause. We are going to toss it to a really quick break. Again, don't go anywhere for more than a couple of minutes. Go grab your snacks because we have got a banger of a game number 3 coming up. Stick with us. And straight into game number 3, we've got Cincinnati Fear on the blue. We've got Team Pending TBA on the red side. 3 for 3. Beat down. Are you stoked?
I'm stoked, Jolly, but I have a question for you.
Uh-oh. Go for it.
We're going to game 3. Do we have a series on our hands?
Oh, we got a series on our hands.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Look at that overhead. Fear, I mean, hey, you know what? Either way, this is exciting. Fear looking to take this one back for themselves. TBA or Team Pending looking to get a reverse sweep on this series. No matter what, one of these teams gets to look forward to facing the number 1 team overall in Amateur at 100 Thieves next.
That's right. And of course, Making top 2 just gets you even more points to qualify for Proving Grounds. Of course, that's what it's all about, guys. Making it to that event, being able to play against Academy teams.
Minions have spawned.
And so far, these guys, I mean, top 4 is already going to give you quite a bit of points, but top 2 just seems a little bit nicer, Jolly. It gives you a little more points.
Yeah, extra
You
points.
like
I think it's a 5 point. Wait, no. Actually, we got the.
It's a what?
No, it was beforehand. It was a 5 point difference. Now it's a lot more points on the line, right? When we're coming down to the final positioning here. I know that we were given those numbers.
You don't worry. I'm scrolling to find it. You just keep on talking, Jolly.
Yeah, I'm scrolling. Okay, first 100, second 80, third and fourth
you scroll
60
faster.
and 60. I'm a fast scroller, man. I click down. I hold down that scroll button. Just
Damn, all right,
move
fair
it up
enough.
or down. That's life hacks for you right there. So it is a pretty big point difference, right? When it gets towards the end of the bracket. Of course, that means that even, teams 3 and 4 for today are looking at going home with 60 points, and you got to feel good about that.
You absolutely do. Now, I've already highlighted game 3. A lot of different picks coming through here. Fear playing for Sketch. Like we always say, you should. You have team pending with the Sejuani top. A lot of ways to try and basically not enable Sketch. And Robbie Bob, of course, the big player here, managing to snag his Corki after having it banned, among many other champs, from him 2 games in a row. Big scaling pick, a lot of range, able to, well, realistically outrange everyone on Cincinnati Fear.
Yep. You do have to get past the Cassiopeia laning phase, though, and that is in the early parts of the game where Blaze is going to have an advantage here. Nice attempt by Masu to get the lockdown onto Sketch. It does hit the minions. That means there's just so much damage back and forth between these two teams. Honestly, across the map, whoever can get first blood, they want to keep that snowball rolling.
You do. In terms of early pressure, I mean, you look at both of these junglers. Trickster been playing a lot of the farming junglers now. Oh, hold that thought.
That's a flash away. Sketch does manage to land the zap. Means Chukis can't really follow up on this, but I don't think Fear is aware that Kitsuo is in the wings. They've got to be now, though, because Blaze is making his way down towards bottom lane.
That is a nice roam in the mid of Fear. And I like the Kitsuo at least was in the area, covering, just making sure that there is no jungle intervention. And realistically, I think you're happy with how this one turned out. Flux forced to flash out. It just cost you your heal and ignite. And actually, Wave isn't even fully shoved in here, so Team Pending could actually threaten freeze if Trickster doesn't come and help shortly. But overall, nothing, again, not too much action coming through here. It's Kitsuo playing signature Lee Sin. Or, I mean, at this point, from level 4, you're ready. You're ready for action. You're looking to gank. You're looking to see what kind of snowballs you can start to make in this early game.
Exactly. If you're Kitsuo, I mean, level 2 is good enough.
He's done it.
But
I've seen it.
He's done it. You definitely have an opportunity here, depending on where Kitsuo decides to lane forward. Blaze sure has the pressure on this lane, but Robbie Bob has been able to keep up here. This is an opportunity where Blaze should be able to kind of shove Robbie Bob out in terms of maintaining CS, and that hasn't really been the case here. Blaze also has to keep an eye on his mana. Another one of those champions early on. Yeah, you want to burn things down. You want to use abilities because it does so much damage, but once you are out, you don't have escapability, aside from a flash. And we can see right there. No way! Kitsuo's gonna miss the Sonic Wave. That's a done and dusted kind of
All
situation.
I'm saying is if I was the Cassiopeia, that would have hit me. That's ridiculous right there. But either way, nothing needs to be blown. Don't have to drop the miasma. Don't have to drop the flash. So this Kitsuo just showing his face, giving that opportunity for Robbie Bob now to get a decent back off, in hopes that he's going to be able to actually go for a reset himself. And a little bit of gold on his end here. But beyond that, no kills yet. About 6 minutes.
Yeah, no surprise. Game number 1, we always end up seeing like 10 minutes, we've got 5+ kills, and it was relatively even. Last game, though, I think 10 minutes, we were still at 0-0. We had a dragon down. We had a tower down before the first kill actually came through, and that's kind of the expectation going into a game number 3, right? Like I said, you get first blood, and it's this kind of, it's not just an actual snowball in terms of getting the extra gold, getting the extra pressure, but it's also a mental sort of boost for yourself. We're going to see now, can Masu find the engagement that they want? It's a huge stun coming out of Blaze, who uses uses the ultimate, the first blood going over to Trickster. Let's see if they can find yet another one as Chukis is gonna go down. Blaze picking up a second kill for himself. Blaze very, very low, has to be careful. Robbie Bob recognizes this, and it's Blaze who moves forward, not gonna be able to get Masu. No way, does take down Robbie Bob at least. So in the overall, Cincinnati Fear come out ahead 3-1, and they get the dragon for themselves.
That's huge. Already off to a great start. Sketch not getting any of these kills, which is kind of unlucky, but you still get to reset. You still get some XP gold. Senna survived with 15 health, by the way. Goddamn. That's crazy. But ultimately, I think that's a big punish there, because as soon as you realize that Blaze is ahead in XP, I mean, Cassiopeia level 6 versus Corki level 6 is a much bigger spike for Blaze, because you have that petrifying gaze, which you already saw had such a big impact here as you see it in this replay. And it is good that Robbie managed to get one back, but it's still 3 for 1 and the dragon. So great start to game 3 for Cincinnati Fear.
Oh my gosh. See, this is why you take the cookies, right? Masu barely staying alive on that one. And you know what? I gotta say, the snacks and that refillable potion are absolutely the only reason he did not go down in that fight.
You know what? We take those, Jolly.
Yep. We take
What all
those.
the pros say. So, it is something you're going to be able to happily walk away with. But now all this pressure means that Trickster can start doing a little bit of this and that. He's also got level 6, has the Cyclone, while Kitsuo isn't quite there yet, meaning his Raptors are forfeit. Trickster can go ahead, do a little bit of counter jungling, start to pull ahead as it is Lee Sin. Not the most amount of wave clear. Kitsuo will be heavily relying on the plays he's able to generate. And so far, haven't had many.
Yeah, but you know what? Sketch is so far behind right now. Sketch has the least gold in the game. Dragoon, can you get out of this one? Yes, it's a flash away from that glacial prison. Will it be enough, though, for Dragoon to actually avoid facing death? Not when it comes to a dragon kick hitting you in the face the other direction. Dragoon will go down. Meantime, in the bottom side, you get the abyssal dive coming from Chukis. It's a root there onto Masu on the backside, who's still trying to provide a little bit of peel for Chukis. Here is no damage on a Sketch. The ignite comes through as well.
And the
Will
devour.
the kill come through? No way. Masu takes down Sketch. It's a huge root. Chuki still
What are they
this
doing?
fight, and they're going to be able to pick it up.
He's
There
dead.
is Masu, who will go down, but still,
Worth.
the kill goes
Worth.
to Plux, and it's a double kill. Absolutely worth.
Well, we call that hashtag word, Dolly. Insane play. It's just a big 2v2 win from the bot lane of Masu and Chukis. Masu, the player, again, his first competitive team. And this guy's styling it with some of the best we know in amateur. Really nicely done here. And you end up, yeah, sure, Tom Kench is farming, but Senna picking up kills, that's a dub. You love to see that.
Huge, and it was literally a dub here of
Yeah,
course, for Masu. Getting 3 kills before going down for the first time. This is, only a few minutes into the game, is a massive way to gain that momentum in your favor. Masu, you could see there at the end, was like, all right, you know what? I'm not going to make it out. I'm going to get these 2 tower shots, and that's what kills me. But the fact that all of this focus is forced onto Chukis, and then Masu is just able to sit back and poke away as he wants to, that means that Sketch and Plux are having a rough time. And like I said, Sketch is currently down like 40 CS. Almost half of this CS that a Tom Kench has. That is not okay. And that's just the amount of pressure that we're getting right now from Masu in particular.
Yeah, and that is big from this bot lane of Team Pending. The fact that they're able to put Sketch far enough behind that you really worry about his ability to be able to have the impact that we often know from him. Of course, in these times, Cincinnati Fear have done a good job at pouring resources back into their AD carry to ensure that he's in the position to carry like we expect him to. But so far, really good punish from Chukis and Masu. And Kitsuo is finally starting to have that impact on other parts of the map as well. Those Team Pending, they're definitely not out.
Nah, they're not out. They are behind in gold just a little bit, of course. That has
Just a
to do with
smidge.
just a smidge with the dragon that has been picked up, and also the CS lead that we're seeing towards the top side of the map. Over 20 up for Dragoon, and of course almost 30 up for Trickster. So these are still kind of saving graces on the side of Cincinnati Fear, but if this bottom lane continues to roll, that late game isn't even going to be an opportunity here for Fear. And look at all the damage that's going on to this tower. It's been 10.5 minutes, and the tower's to half health already.
Yeah, that's why you see Sketch has got the call. Whatever extra gold he can get is coming through here, and it's worth noting Masu off that recall has more itemization because of those kills, even though he isn't farming right now. From plates, from kills, and everything of the like. Sketch is not able to play. Oh man, Kitsuo's here too.
He's got the Dawning Shadow as well. I mean, Masu knows he's got the range. He's also got the support from the rest of his team. Chuki's going to step in front of that Zap, so Masu doesn't have to take any additional damage. Kitsuo really doesn't have an opening to go in here, but still, this is just complete control of the bottom side in favor of Team Pending.
Right, and I mean, I like the fact that he's not forcing anything because he knows that Blaze is out of lane, knows that Blaze has had a lot of these roam timers. So you're not actually looking to force the play. You're just trying to hover so Masu and Chukis can do what they've been doing. And now it's gonna allow a dragon to also be picked up here for Team Pending. Of course, Topo is gonna check to see and realize that Trickster has stolen the camps, and oh wow, he might actually kill him.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. The smite goes down. It's the flat. No, the last second to flash too.
Yeah.
Satopo and the ultimate that came out as well. I actually didn't even see that, but that is quite a bit that Topo had to drop there and didn't come out ahead at all.
My God.
Look at this. Oh my God, a 12-minute tower. That's not okay. That's not okay, Beatdown.
It's not, and you don't even have the Rift Herald, and you're somehow not getting the tower. I mean, I like this call, though, for the lane swap. Sketch is under too much pressure right now, and you utilize the fact that Trickster got that Rift Herald earlier to get some plate gold back into his pocket. Really sucks that it isn't the first turret bonus gold, but you're going to pick up some of these jungle camps and everything of the like, so it is still gold back into some very important pockets.
See if that transitions back, though. Trickster is going to get locked down. Of course, those Hex
Oh,
gates
they know
are
he's
available
gone.
to flash forward by Kitsuo. Blaze is the target. He's going to be able to flash over the wall. Out comes
Oh,
the Dawning
Dawning
Shadow.
Shadow.
It's not quite enough to take
He's
down
going.
Blaze. Kitsuo re-engages onto this one, gets locked down. Now comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, and all of Cincinnati Fear are going to be able to get out of this one alive.
Cost them summoner spells, but it's as you say, Jolly. They do get to walk away, but look at Masu. He is Kraken Slayer already. First mythic, one of the first mythics in the game, I should say. And is in such an accelerated position as we've been able to see here. And I like that they're now keeping him in that mid lane. Of course, we're out of that laning phase, so it means that Masu is going to be able to just pick up more plates and more extra gold despite only having 6 CS. Senna's very cool.
Senna feels great right now, especially with the way that Chukis is playing on this Tahm Kench, right? I mean, just absolutely willing to sacrifice as much of his health as needed to keep Masu alive. And we do have, of course, the Kraken Slayer built on the other side, so Sketch does have that first item locked down as well. But it does not feel nearly as good as sitting 3-1-0, being a starved Senna and still being able to pick up that item first.
Yeah, working your way towards that Rage Blade as well here. Of course, overall, things aren't pretty even. It's worth noting, though, Robbie Bob, player we're highlighting on this Corki champ, among many, has banned many games in this series. He's also been pretty quietly scaling up. No action since that early play in the mid lane, and is only down like 15 CS. So getting close to that 2-item mark, he's also going to be a big problem for Cincinnati Fear because of the range. Once you get that Ludens built up, those rockets, I mean, we've seen it. It's not fun.
It's not fun. That's for sure. We'll have to see how much he can stack up, and if the rockets on the opposite side are going to be enough. Out comes the Cyclone, in goes Trickster, who's going to pick up the kill. The Super Mega Death Rocket looking for something for Sketch, but it's going to be Trickster that picks that one up.
And it's a shutdown, no less. Masu getting caught out there. Really nicely played. Nice use of the Arcane Trickster. Which, a little bit of a... whatever. Kitsuo has the I didn't know if I could call that wordplay, you know, so I wasn't sure.
I see what you're getting at there. I see what you're getting at though, with the Trickster playing playing the Trickster himself.
I'm glad you got
that
it.
Sun God. No, don't worry, I'm on the same page as you, beat that. It's been a long day, but not that long, and it looks like Cincinnati Fear trying to maybe coax out a fight here. It's Kitsuo that goes in initially. Renata throwing down the ultimate, not hitting a single member. Out comes Call of the Forge God though. Dragoon on the backside. Pinching away these players. Masu will be the first one to go down. Kitsuo is the next target, gets devoured, but a pullback onto Chukis means that he might not make it out alive, and there it is. It's enough damage to take down Kitsuo, and it's a lot of damage in general coming out of Cincinnati Fear, who come out very far ahead in that fight.
That was a 4 versus 5. TBA pushing up maybe a little too close before Chukis could actually be a part of the situation here. That Devour could have been used to save Masu, and we highlight how important abilities like that are.
Oh, no way! Robbie Boy!
Well, we talk about how important abilities like that are, and if you're not there to use them, you're diminishing a lot of its value here. But now Cincinnati Fear find themselves in a pretty strong position. Blaze finds himself in maybe a little bit of trouble.
This has not been the first time that Blaze has kind of been stuck in a position where two members are trying to find him caught out. He doesn't need boots to escape from you, though, okay? He has awareness, and that is something that if you are going to be side laning and putting pressure into top and bottom when you know you're pushed out much farther than the rest of the team, you have to have that awareness.
That you do, and at the moment, we see Topo abandoning that top wave, showing up mid. And this is big because it's important to TBA that they want to go for this dragon, judging by this play that Glacial Prison is up and available. There is a time for a steal. Kitsuo is here.
Oh, the rest of the team is here. Blaze and Sketch trying to do something, but it's the steal from Robbie Bob. And oh no, Trickster cannot get over the wall. Attempts to do so, but the dash isn't quite far enough off of the clone there. That means the Team Pending not only got themselves 2 kills, but they managed to snake dragon number 3.
Big, and it's just been back and forth. How exciting. This game 3 has been jolly. Both of these teams trying to secure that final spot, trying to secure that matchup with 100 Thieves next. Have been going toe-to-toe all series long, but even more so in this third game. And because of that play, very easy for them to secure this mid-lane turret. Oh my god. What happened to Sketch's?
It's Mazu. The damage is just too darn much. You get a single rocket as well from Robbie Bob. It doesn't even have to be the big one. And you gotta watch out if you're Sketch, who now has an even bigger target because he's also got that red buff.
That he is. And this is just Team Pending. Answering back here in this game 3. Managing to find ways back into it. And I think the thing that's worth noting too is in this even game state, both of these teams have really key ways that they want to be playing the game. But again, Cincinnati Fear leaning towards Sketch here. Okay, no, it doesn't go. I was holding my breath. If we could actually take a look at the goal, I want to see what Sketch has been able to do to catch up. It seems like he's catching up in CS, but you can see it. He is slightly ahead of Masu, but given the fact that we're like pre-20 minutes and this is a fasting Senna, you usually want to be a little more ahead at this point. I think that is
and as you say,
pretty good for Yeah, and Masu, they're going back and forth, right?
I will say though.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead. No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was simply just gonna say that a lot of the gold for Cincinnati Fear, it's on Trickster, it's on Blaze.
Yep.
And it's even though they're good, even though they're strong, they can do a lot of value. You want it on Jinx.
Yep. Which, it isn't a bad thing, right? For it to be on Trickster and Blaze, or at least it's not like all on Dragoon, which again isn't even a bad thing necessarily. But at the same time, considering that Sketch was less than 50% of the CS previously as Chukies, in the last little bit, Chukies has not really been able to do any farming, and that is something that Jinx does exceptionally well as the game continues on. The ability to just stack up your CS, and that's something that Sketch has put a lot of focus in, which is very respectable considering now he's up over 100. I mean, we were literally looking at like 40 to 100 previously because of how far back Sketch was pushed. So still good recognition that, hey, this is where I need to kind of recover, and he made it happen.
That he did. Now Cincinnati Fear still have a Rift Herald to work with here. Probably not going to make it until the time Dragon spawns because we're still 2 minutes out. But I think big target. It's going to be that mid-tier 1 turret. You want to break open the map a little bit more so you can continue invading, continue focusing on setting up vision for this bottom side of the map because you want to prevent the dragon stacking that Team Pending have gotten so far because Hextech Soul is very, very strong.
There it is, though. It's actually going to be coming here in the bottom side because, as you're right, it was about to expire. It's Trickster looking for something. Blaze trying to follow this one up. Has to flash for the Dawning Shadow on top of it, but it's going to be enough damage. No way! It ends up being a trade. Topo comes through with the teleport, throws out. The ultimate misses, but it still is a trade. Robbie Bob's got to feel good about staying alive that long.
Yeah, and Pluck's fell off screen in the mid lane, which is still, this is good because even though you lose the bot tier 1, you trade it for a mid tier 2, you go 2 for 1 technically across the map. So that actually ends up being pretty big for Team Pending. You also force out Dragoon's TP so he could match Topo in that bot lane skirmish. You're still getting a lot of much needed gold in your pockets as Team Pending, and you're winning out overall in the skirmishes. Oh my god, they're just full sending the Baron.
Ooh, 45 seconds, it's all it has been up. Dragoon goes over just to say hello and realizes that there are many members to say hello to here. The teleport coming through. Masu gonna try to poke down as much damage as possible. Right there, out comes call of the Forge God. The package forces that call to be onto Robbie Bob on the backside, who manages to barely stay alive, flashing forward. Doesn't survive that one. Masu will be the next to fall. Chookies, of course, is the follow-up on that one. Trickster with a good play and even more damage coming out of Sketch. Now it is Blaze versus Kitsuo, who has to deal with the poison but should be able to find the shockwave and get over the wall to the opposite side. But that also means that Baron, the Team Pending was so hopefully going for, it will not fall in their favor.
No,
maybe?
No, he has no smite. He has no smite. You gotta walk away from that one. Really good interference from Blaze, but also really risky team fight that Cincinnati managed to turn on its head because we saw Robbie Bob go in with the package, but wasn't able to secure any crucial kills at the moment here. And as long as Sketch is alive to start resetting, you have a chance to win these extended fights. And hopefully we'll see a replay of how things turned out. But at the moment, Team Pending, they really want to try and get this third dragon. It would be a nice consolation, but those empowered recalls, they get Cincinnati Fear back on the map very, very quickly. It means there are 2 dragons apiece.
And it also means, you know, more wasted time as well right there. Cincinnati spent so much time and effort trying to take down the Baron, trying to transition it to a fight, and it looked like it was just Dragoon. It looked like maybe Robbie Bob had a good opportunity to hit back on people, but I really, if we do end up taking a look at that replay, probably one of my favorite things is just the redirection, the recognition of Dragoon saying, okay, you know what, I could hit everybody with this call of the Forge God, or I could just whack Robbie Bob, who just used his package to get in here, and he's really going to regret that.
Yeah, that's huge, because now you get the Baron buff. You're going to be able to take open more turrets here and just continue to further your gold lead as Cincinnati Fear. Sketch in a perfectly good position now at the 2-item mark, spiking really hard right now. Once the IE comes through, he's going to be really hard to deal with unless Team Pending manage to come back in the deficit they find themselves in. So far, though, no dice, as that's 2 turrets in a row for Cincinnati.
And it's hard to do when Cincinnati Fear is moving in such a tight group like this. There's not really any horrible recourse for being so stuck together, right? You're not expecting a solar flare to come through and lock you all up, right? There's not a baby cage that's going to come down and force everybody to get crowd controlled hard. It actually works out in their favor if Cincinnati Fear stick very close together and push as a team. They still do have, of course, this pressured opportunity on the side lanes due to the fact that they've got players like Blaze, like Sketch on these champions.
That's right, and now, Team Pending, all they can really hope to do is group, minimize the push here in this mid lane so no inhibitor turrets end up getting pressured at this point. But pretty soon, you can see Cincinnati really focusing a lot of their efforts now on this bottom tier 2. Get rid of the remaining outer turret on the map. With 30 seconds left on the Baron buff, you pretty much have all you need to be able to make it happen here. But Team Pending, they're going to try.
They've got to try. This is really their only opportunity. They can't do much, though. It's either that or try to go to a different part of the map, and there's so much mobility. You've got a teleport still available here for Dragoon to try to force something out. Over 3,000 gold is the favor the Cincinnati Fear finds for themselves on that massive Baron play, and there's no way to turn that aside from that Baron play being hugely pivotal in favor of this blue side team.
And as it expires, that's 3,000 gold they picked up from the Baron power play. Cincinnati Fear, and it gets them in this point where you can see it, Jolly. That's 5,000 gold. And in a comp where you have things like Sketch on Jinx, you have Blaze on the Cassiopeia, champs that offer a lot of DPS and team fights. These team fights just get that much more difficult, especially when Dragoon playing Ornn, Trickster's playing Wukong. You have so much engage, and we highlighted it in Champ Select how impactful just those 2 champions alone can be for setup. At this point, Team Pending, the only opportunity they have for beneficial fights is when Robbie Bob has the package.
And another kind of struggle that comes in at this point in the game is we're looking at only, 20 kills across 25 minutes, which is quite low, especially considering how many back-to-back fights we've had recently. But the unfortunate side here is that we're looking at everybody being either even or negative on the side of Team Pending. They don't really have a standout member in terms of their damage, aside from, of course, Robbie Bob, who is going to be stacking throughout the rest of the game. On the other side, you got a 4-1-3 Cassiopeia. You have a 2-1-7 Jinx, and that is not where Team Pending wants the kills to lie if they want to try to pressure this out to the late game.
No, and we're at this point where we highlighted in Champ Select Team Pending. Some of these picks, things like Sedge, things like technically Corky, the range on the rockets and the package, and also the Sejuani. You're trying to isolate Sketch. Before these fights start, to right in the beginning, this Jinx needs to be out of the picture. It's hard because of the fact that Renata has bailout, but that's your win con. As Team Pending, you set up around an objective and you hope that you can get a flank angle, a nice kick from Kitsuo, because you have to take Sketch out of the picture. Otherwise, you just don't really have any hope.
Yep. And again, this ends up being one of those situations where if they're split, you have to be careful because they have side lane pressure and they also have these individual fights available. If they're together as a group, you have to be careful because they have this crazy engagement. If it's the Cyclone, if it's Call of the Forge God, if it's the ultimate from coming out of Blaze right now, there's so much utility available for Cincinnati Fear, again, whether they're side lane fights or their team fights, that Team Pending is forced to play reactively, and this is not a composition that really allows for them to do that.
Not quite, and now Team Pending doing their best to clear what vision that they can. They're ignoring top wave, they're foregoing bot wave, because this dragon is what they need. Trickster sending.
Oh, and there it is. It's a huge knockup with the Cyclone. Trickster trying to get back in. He's going to flash backwards to Topo. Out comes the Dawning Shadow. That's going to be one down for the ultimates. That's the heal and the flash as well.
Wait, Dragoon?
Looks like Dragoon going back in. He flashes away. Blaze is on the backside trying to deal as much damage as possible. Now possibly caught out as most members of Cincinnati Fear are under 50% health. Team Pending finding themselves an opportunity. Chucky's still very high up, but they're going to take this time to put pressure on the mid lane, and they lose out on another dragon in favor of Fear.
You don't want to take that risk with the position you find themselves in. That was almost something huge for Team Pending, but they couldn't quite secure any kills in the end. And of course, they do not have the position to go ahead and start the Baron. It's worth noting, a lot of ults are down on Cincinnati Fear's side, but the wallet dip is just too big now. So all you're going to do is steal what camps you can and hope you can recall in peace here. Cincinnati Fear, nail in the coffin, is going to be that next dragon in 4.5 minutes.
Exactly. This is one of those situations, no recall stopped on that one, but this is one of those situations where you don't want to allow the dragon to go through, but you have to be so careful if you are Team Pending on how you initiate on this fight, because again, we saw how quickly Cincinnati Fear can get in there, and also how long they can maintain themselves in these fights where they just kind of swap and adjust aggro. Everybody gets really low, but nobody actually ends up going down for Fear. And it is at the point with only about a 5,000 gold differential where one really solid team fight, one good objective around a team fight will be more than enough for Team Pending to get back into the lead.
They're going to need to find that fight. That's the thing. The Cincinnati Fear are in a really commanding position at the moment here. The comp is just so simple. The front to back is there. At this point, they could just start the Baron and force Team Pending to walk into them. Like, realistically, you're so strong right now. This Jinx has that Kraken Slayer upgraded by the Ornn, and you can see what is going on at the moment on the Scuttle Crab. But you do see, because of that it is faked. Is going to be gained from that one, except for Topo's TP, so you're honestly pretty happy with that.
Yep. That Scuttle lasting just as long as it needed to. Of course, now those pings coming back out from Cincinnati Fear saying, all right, maybe we have the opportunity without their vision. We still have pressure on the top side. We can still maintain this pressure in the mid side. But it's also very obviously Cincinnati Fear trying to get a fight out of Team Pending. And Team Pending knows they just can't take that right now.
That's right. And that's why you see them trying to start the Baron, trying to see if Team Pending walk in a little too closely. And now they're just going to go ahead and start it again. Maybe see if they can get another TP out. Or maybe get that force fight that they really, really want at this point. But again, another attempt. Another walk away as soon as it is spotted out. And realistically, Cincinnati Fear, one more big spike left for them here. And it is Sketch on the Infinity Edge. Very well maybe close to having enough gold as it is. He's only one component away. I think that's like 1,200 gold, something along those lines. And once that comes through, again, team pending, get on top of this Jinx. That's the only way.
Yeah, it's a lot of kill participation because you're looking at 9 out of 12 for a Jinx who's normally stuck in the bottom lane for a good portion of this matchup, especially going up against a Senna here. And once more, I'll talk about the creep score. Sketch, it doesn't matter how far behind Sketch was towards the beginning of this. Sketch stayed alive, and now he is absolutely chilling. Almost caught up to Dragoon, who has been, pretty high up there for the majority of this game. So it has been a really good job of Fear recognizing, okay, Blaze and Sketch can stay safe if they're on the backside. Also, for the last, almost 10 minutes, there has not been a single kill. So while we have seen fight after fight, trade after trade, it has not actually ended in an execution of any sort.
It's worth noting, Dragoon, at this point, he's just waiting for an opportunity to do exactly this.
There it is. He's gonna throw it off to the backside to pop up Robbie Bob. Dragoon looking for something here. In the meantime, it's Trickster who's on the front of this fight, but a huge ultimate to come out of Sketch is a big amount of damage. Blaze on top of it finds the triple kill. They get the slowdown on Robbie Bob, who has to use the package away. Topo gonna go down to Sketch, and that's an excited Jinx, meaning you are not gonna stay alive for very long. It's the super mega death rocket. It's the double kill, and it is the cleanest ace you have ever seen.
Not only that, that's the end. 30 seconds, 40 seconds on members of Team Pending. Try as they might, but they still fall to Fear. Cincinnati are going to win it out in Game 3.
Win it out and move on to Finals Day tomorrow to face the one and only 100 Thieves next. Cincinnati Fear has got to feel good about that matchup, but they have a big series to look forward to tomorrow. No matter what, they at least force lock themselves in for second place at the least. And I don't know if anyone on the desk, when we started this qualifier, actually genuinely thought that it would be 100 Thieves and now Cincinnati Fear as the number 2 team going up against them. Remarkable.
Right. I mean, 100 next. We all kind of saw that one coming. But Cincinnati Fear, absolutely not. Again, only recently hitting their stride, especially when they even had a jungle sub in their quarterfinal match last week, Jolly. But they managed to bring it together. And with Trickster coming back, it's just business as usual for Cincinnati Fear. And what an insane win for them because, like you said, you guarantee yourself at least second place, which I think you mentioned was, 80 points?
80 points.
And 100 if you overcome 100 Thieves next. But, of course, Fnatic in his interview after the first series of the night says they will beat anybody. So Fear still have a tough match ahead of them tomorrow, but still they got to be happy about today.
Oh man, you've got to be stoked about today, especially game number 2. Seemed like they kind of dropped the ball a little bit and absolutely completely recovered whatever fumble they were experiencing, kind of going back to the basics. And you love to see that from a team that has already so much history, so much cohesion. There's a reason that I had so much faith in no team. And also there's a reason that I like that bold play of saying, you know what, we can take on anyone. We might not know how far we're going to get, but we're going to do our best to take this as long as possible. And this is a situation that we saw from them. So good on you, of course. Really well played by Team Pending. I was sincerely scared for Cincinnati in game number 2 going into game number 3. Both of the compositions look so clean. There was so much learned that I could tell just in this one single series, and I think that that's a lot to say. A big tip of the hat to all 10 of these players that are on board, as well as their coaches and whatever organization or school they play for.
100%. And again, even though TBA, they were projected by some, they couldn't end up bringing it out in that third game. I mean, part of it was they did a good job at putting Sketch down in the earlier parts of the game. Masu and Chookies played well, but Sketch caught himself back up. Like you said, it wasn't just kills. It was the farm catching up to members of Dragoon, who, I mean, yeah, he's playing Ornn, but I think he was farming pretty well, all things considered. So getting Sketch back in and finding all these right fights, punishing TBA when they overextend, was a great way for Cincinnati to push their lead into this eventual win.
Yep. And the name stands, all right? Somebody on the desk was saying, oh gosh, I don't even remember who it was on the desk, was talking about Fear and how, you know what? We're looking at TBA's icon, the logo, the smiley face. Nothing strikes more fear than that. You can't say that anymore. The skull and crossbones comes into play. Of course, that's going to do it for us at least, but we do have to talk to the winners. We got to talk to the analyst decks, potentially an interview with the losers. So we're going to toss into a very quick break, and when we come back, we're going to break down the 2 series that we saw and maybe talk about what we're looking forward to tomorrow in the final. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this.
And to start things off, we're going to talk firstly to our semifinalists, that being Kitsuo, coming out from TBA. My man, I'm sure it's got to be tough coming back from all that, but I got to say, y'all definitely played your hearts out. Talk to you a bit about your thoughts on the overall series.
I think Cincinnati Fear came in really prepared. I think they were ready for what we had.
Mhm.
We kind of didn't expect some of the things that happened to happen.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think they showed up big today, and they proved they were better today.
I think so. Yeah, it's like you saying. I find there were definitely a lot of picks where I was personally caught off guard, right? Because I think, namely, so would you say that in game number 1 going into game number 2, you guys adapted by taking out just the Talia alongside the Yone? Was that definitely where you found the problems to be, or was there more they were doing that kind of read into your play style?
Yeah, I think the first game I completely went over my head about the Talia. I knew it was something they played, and then it just went over my head when I took Wukong and Callista.
Yeah.
But after the first game, I felt like we had a pretty good idea on how we wanted to draft game 2, and game 2 felt fine. But I think in game 3, things were okay. I think and the picks ended up being fine, but I think they just played better.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go ahead and leave that be for now, though. But what I do want to talk about currently is y'all, because I find y'all made one of the deepest run of the series that I'm sure many people were counting you out for in general as well. Because would you say that this was a result you expected, or was finals the overall end goal, or are you winning? I would say.
I think we expected to go even further than this. I didn't expect to drop today to Cincinnati Fear, but again, hats off to them. They played really well today, so they earned that finalist spot.
For sure.
Yeah.
But one big thing for me, though, is that I want to talk a bit more about your guys' progression, right? Because coming from C-Lol as well, being able to adapt from 2 different patches to, I think you guys have a lot to be proud of as well. So just clue me in a little bit, coming in for playing on different patches as well, and being able to adapt to 2 different teammates too. So speak to me about your progressions there.
I think that Ryu Bob and I have a lot of good synergy, I guess. As a mid jungler, we understand how each other wants to be playing the game, and we understand we have the way our champions work together with our champion pools.
For sure.
So I think that that's a pretty good place to start. And towards the end of CLOL, during top 8, we found a way to incorporate Chukis a lot into it. So that really came together as a strong core. And then I think slotting in a strong AD like Masu, and then a good weak side top laner like Charlie or Topo has helped us a lot in that regard. I think it's given us a really clear identity and a way we want to play the game. But I think we've shown that even Topo has a lot of flexibility in terms of what he can play, and Masu has proven himself to be a really good AD carry as well.
And I couldn't agree more on that, right? Because how you guys have grown together as a team from where you guys started off has definitely been something truly to behold as well. And what is next now for Cincinnati Fear? Sorry, what is next now for Team TBA as you now have fallen, unfortunately, to Cincinnati Fear?
I mean, you won't count us out of this proving grounds. At least I think we've shown a lot in this one, but we can do. A lot of changes are happening to the meta, with like the constant changes of patches, and I think that in the next qualifier we'll come back even stronger. I think we learned a lot from this one. This loss especially because you know what they say. It's like you learn more from losses than you do from wins. So we're finally handed our loss, so we can learn a lot from this.
All right. Well, I hope to do so too, because I know seeing y'all's progression all the way from collegiate to now throughout amateur. Whenever y'all been down, you come back up even stronger. And I know that'll happen for y'all for sure. I appreciate you talking to me. Any final words to anybody watching out there as well?
Shout outs to all my supporters, especially my friends and family at home. Who are there always in the chat supporting us. Shout out to the analyst desk for predicting for us, with the people that voted for us. My boy Ravishing, Veteran, of course, and even Parth today. Thank you for believing in us. Sorry we couldn't pull through, but yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, we're just gonna keep smiling. So,
as you should. I appreciate you talking to me today, Kitsuo. You're phenomenal, and I hope to see more of you and your team soon.
Yep.
Take care.
See ya.
Welcome on back, amigos. We got my man Blaze from Cincinnati. Fear. Let me just go ahead and gauge you right now, homie. How you doing? How you feeling?
Off the 2-1, we're feeling pretty good. Was looking for the 2-0, not gonna lie, but we take those.
I mean, understandable too. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit this was not a result that I'm sure many were expecting. I was out here like, yo, is this gonna be crazy? And I was expecting some exciting games. So you know what? I'll go and say it. That's my bad. I'm dumb. But hey, y'all proved me wrong in fantastic fashion. So shout out to y'all.
No problem, man. We can all be a little wrong when we predict against Cincy Fear.
That's right. That's right. But that right there's the biggest thing, right? Because you already mentioned before how a lot of y'all been counting you out. So talk to me a bit about your journey getting all the way here and why you think people are sleeping on y'all when they really shouldn't be.
Well, last bit, we're just me, Dragoon, and Plux. We're just on a no team, right? Not big brand org like 100X or like EGP. People always look at those the most. And I don't really know. I guess we care about names too much in amateur. At the end of the day, it's all just players trying to go to the next level, right? And whoever works the hardest is probably gonna make it.
That is 100% true, and y'all have been putting in all that work. I find, Kisso was even mentioning, you guys had such a good read on what they wanted to do because, yo, that Talia Yone combo, that was sick.
Yeah, that's gotta be shout outs to our staff. Not the day of, the day before, or even a few days like before prepping for scrims. We always have a plan. We talk to the players, what do we want to do? Even if what we want to do is not what everyone wants to do, whatever works for us, we're gonna keep going with it.
Yeah, and as you see, y'all clearly seem to have found out a thing that have worked for y'all. There's one main factor which I would be remiss if I did not ask. The Ornn is so crucial, I find, throughout that entire series. Do you think this series was low-key Ornn diff, or not?
Well, alright, so guys, we already know TVA, shout outs to them, but they're kind of a do-nothing team. Like, they like to scale, they like to pick, like, you saw Zerath and stuff like that. And Ornn, that just supports it too much. If you do nothing, Ornn scales, can't get dove. And then late game, you're a monster. And then, but Ornn on our side is like a different breed. We click R off cooldown, and we just keep looking to go in.
I mean, I did see that though. Every single time, whenever y'all had the chance, it was a whole lot of every time. So that was amazing how y'all kept fighting over and over, and just especially how y'all played the laning phase too was definitely seriously impressive. But you mentioned every single team you go in with the plan for, and tomorrow you facing 100 Thieves. How you feeling about that? You ready?
Yeah, 100 Thieves this time around, definitely, losing Insanity is a big part of them. He's worked in LCS before. So I think this time around it should be a lot easier. I don't think, they're probably the best opponents in here, but I can see us taking it for sure.
All right. I mean, like you said, 100 Thieves are pretty fiercely up there, and plus, especially you gonna go against Dark Wings too. Just do you have any words to say to him right now, on what's gonna happen in the lane?
Well, I can't. Dark Wings and me are chill. But I mean, if we say anything like today, it'll be mid diff for sure.
Damn. All right. Y'all heard it here first. It's going to be mid-diff, and I'm excited to see if it actually does come panning out, right? And finally, for everybody out there, for all your adoring fans, what do you got to say to them?
Well, today I had a bunch of my IRLs, like my family, my girlfriend, my friends, they're watching. So thank you for them. They really when you know who's watching you. Shout out to the analyst desk for voting against us like 3 times in a row. We've won every time.
Shout out to us.
Our staff prep is perfect as usual.
Mhm.
And yeah, we're all working together well, and I'm looking forward to what we can do.
Well, I made the mistake once. I'm not going to vote against y'all again. So let it be known.
No problem, man.
But I appreciate you talking to me, man. Good luck tomorrow. I am amped for y'all series.
Thank you, man. Looking forward to it.
Amigos, we got absolutely destroyed. I'm looking across Twitter right now, and everybody just has their predictions up. I don't know about you, but I'm sad. Veteran, you've felt this before. How do you feel? Pretty usual.
What can you say? It was just Orn diff.
It's just, you know, Blaze, I did ask Blaze that. He did say that, yo, Orn was a massive factor in the game, right? They did alt off cooldown, and I think part your impeccable and accurate analysis comes to play once again. But, hey, we're not here to talk about all that. Let's try to break down some of that series on what we actually saw to be able to fully lay the overall groundwork here, amigos. Because, better, you know, the series, if anything, was close.
I mean, it did come down to inches there, to be honest. Like, one team fight goes slightly better and TBA could run away with the game. Ultimately, that isn't what happened. Fear's composition is probably what you would want in a dramatic game like this, especially when everything is on the line. It's just easier to execute. A lot of the advantages TBA has is stuff like Corki could theoretically ignore the Ornn. Senna can get to such a range that the Ornn wouldn't necessarily be a factor with her. But if you start misstepping, if things start getting anxious to you, if things start getting tense, the composition on the left is the easiest to capitalize in those scenarios. As Renata, as Wukong, as Ornn, as Wukong, as engage upon engage upon engage upon engage, and Sketch is the easiest job in the world here, right? They haven't put everything on Sketch. It's definitely all on a team effort. But if you want to look at ease on execution, it's on the left. I do think Comp on the right definitely could have done stuff, but in these kinds of games, you want your players to be comfortable, you want your players to be difficult to punish, and Comp on the left was able to do that.
I think more on the composition side, I think TPA did a lot of good things this game. I think their bot lane had like a massive lead early on that they could have translated. But I did like the pivot that Team Fear brought in this game. They realized, hey, maybe Senna isn't as strong as a pick for us. They took that Wukong away as the first pick, and they also realized that engages is what they were lacking in game 2, and then they brought it out in game 3. And obviously you saw TPA try to match that with Sejuani and Lee Sin. And like Veteran was saying, I do think that if the early game had gotten slightly different and they were able to set up more Dragon scenarios where Corki and Senna were able to poke out the opposition, this game could have been drastically different.
But unfortunately so, the result is what it is, and I can already feel it's getting flamed for it, sadly. But because I think Cincinnati Fear, they came into this extremely prepared, right? They were able to call out every bit of inches on what they knew the TB wanted to do, and the factor was being able to control our objectives, being able to scale, and they denied that at every which way an opportunity. So let's try to wrap the series up in a whole, and perhaps on one end, let's talk about the lessons for TBA, what they can take going forward as you look at this replay here. Better.
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, TBA understand, or should hopefully understand, where their strengths lie and how best to go around it. Like here, Ornn is actually delayed on towards the fight again, but because Ornn has that long-range engage, it's difficult for TBA to be able to leverage that. And still here, you can see how close they are to getting kills on Trickster, on even Dragoon, on Plux. Obviously, they end up making up that HP back towards the end of the fight, but there, just small things go a little bit better for them, and they're able to run home with it. If teams start contesting them with globals like Galio TF, Talia, which they were doing in the first game, right? With things that can do good half roams, so stuff like Jin, stuff like the Ornn that we had here, right? These are the picks that TBA's preferred playstyle should be vulnerable to. Even if this wasn't a conscious decision by them to have their strengths in these areas, they are where their strengths are, and these are the things they are weak to. That's what they have to deny and have to prepare for in drafts.
And if we are to look at this next replay as well, Parth, like you saw how, especially around these Baron objectives as well, considering how ahead we saw the Fear were, TBA just kept looking for different advantages, different ways to get back into the game. They kept it decently close, but after a certain point, it wasn't close anymore.
Yeah, so you saw the Ornn walk up to 4 people while they're doing Baron and kind of tank a lot of the aggro and pull them into this choke and disengage. And by then, I think TBA was too split, and it gave enough time for Fear to come out and kind of capitalize. And this was actually based on a good play. This was right after a good play that TBA had made before they started Baron in the first place. And it just kind of shows the power of what Fear's comp was able to do in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, I mean, their Corki massively misstepped towards the Ornn, but it's just once that happened, even with Senna keeping him alive far longer than he should be able to, there was just so many layers of crowd control coming in that that mistake was going to be punished. And at this stage, that's also more likely to happen. Players are either going to receive more or they're going to try to make more big plays to try to end the game. So, yeah, the strengths of the composition there, but also, you know, just having the better understanding of what it is they need to do to win.
It was a multitude of opportunities set up by the picks that the Fear knew they were both good on and comfortable with, and continuing forward into a snowball effect that lands us at our result here today. So now for the Fear, you know, they have a tough challenge ahead of them tomorrow, going up against 100 next, a team that has looked rightfully unstoppable, but definitely not an improbable mountain to climb. On the other end, though, we say goodbye to Team Pending, but our finals are tomorrow. This is it. The Summer PGCQ1 playoffs, and right here on Academy as well. Very, you know, but in about 24 hours or so. But until then, we still got a bit more time, and I want y'all to hang on your seats until then, because all roads have led up to this. And soon enough, we'll be heading home. But I appreciate y'all for joining us today. Veteran, appreciate you all being on the desk with us, and my main man Parth as well, coming up and giving us some very insightful little nuggets for us to all to take home. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, it's never about the comp; it's always just Ornn diff. Thank you, of course, to our sponsors as well for making all of this possible as well. You guys make us all look good. Of course, appreciate everybody behind the scenes for making us look good. Our producers, our observers, and the people running the entire tournament. Now, with all that being said, I've been Ravish, most Ravish on the internet. We'll catch you all tomorrow for the finals between 100 Thieves next and Cincinnati Fear. Until then, good night.